I'm Mason Marangella from Vertex Effects. Today, I'm here with my good friend Danny Rabin. Danny is from Marbin, one of my favorite jazz fusion bands in the world. Today, we're going to be talking about the Ultra-Phonix HRM. Now, you may be asking yourself, you know, I've heard of the Ultra-Phonix, which is another pedal we make. What's the difference between that and the HRM? Well, the HRM is actually based on an EL34 Dumble Overdrive Special. And if you're not aware of what that is, it was a very rare version of the Overdrive Special that's kind of a Marshall meets kind of a Dumble Overdrive type sound. And we're going to do some exhaustive kind of playing of kind of the sounds in this thing, but to kind of give you an overview, it is completely it's dissimilar to the original Ultra-Phonix in almost every way. It's a completely different circuit. We have additional controls for accent, which is kind of like a presence, like a 5K boost. It does have around the same control of the tone, about 1.6 to 1.8K. But then we also have two different volume controls. One is a pre-gain, one is a post-gain, and then also a master volume on the entire thing. But Danny, you're a longtime user of the Ultra-Phonix, the original one. What are some of your impressions so far about how this differs?
It seems to be like an altogether different kind of pedal. It doesn't really resemble the other Ultra-Phonix, because I think this one has some sort of frequencies kind of present there that are kind of swimming in the distortion that the other one doesn't seem to have. I use the Ultra-Phonix as my main lead sound, so I know it very well. But this one tends to be, my guess is that I'd probably want to have one of these in front, yeah, pretty soon, because this is my first time playing it. But in front of a clean amp too, it just does this thing, like you heard before, that you can get these Jeff Beck kind of tones, something a little more Marshall-y about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and can you kind of like take us through maybe like, you know, how, you know, what you think kind of excels at in terms of like maybe some chorded notes, some single notes, so we can kind of hear what those differences are kind of dynamically?
Sure. So my main use for the other one would be fast single note kind of things that have a lot of sustain. This one I would imagine would be more like a Jeff Beck kind of thing for me, at least, playing with my fingers and getting that really clear chordal sound along with like single notes, so like things like this.
Sounds great. I mean, one of the things that, you know, jumps out to me right away, kind of comparatively, is that it really, you know, has kind of that Marshall-y attack, but there's still sort of like a smoothness around the note that's still kind of quintessentially the Dumble thing. Because sometimes Marshalls can be so glassy that it can almost be unusable. You have to be really careful about where you set the presence, the type of instrument pairings you use, and that's a lot of the reason why you saw guys like Jimi Hendrix using long coily cables to kind of take off some of that top. But you know, this really has that, and if you wanted to add that exaggeration, of course, you could use the accent, which is kind of that presence, that really high end, and bring that up if you wanted to have some of that. But man, it really sounds good here.
Yeah, the thing also that I'm noticing right now, and this is first impression, the kind of vibe that you get when you take a pedal out of the box and plug it in and are first playing with it, is really how well it cleans up. And if you're the kind of player that works the volume knob, it's something that, I mean, you really get all the way from a thing where you can almost play jazz,
yeah,
you know, like this, all the way to a full rock and
sustain there, yeah. That's great. Now, like for guys that, you know, like you're an amazing player, but for guys that are at home and, you know, kind of maybe more in the blues or the rock kind of vein, like can you play a few things to kind of show how it might be usable for that sort of context, for people that are not, you know, using the whammy bar and stuff like that? Kind of some core tones do you think might work for this?
Sure.
Sounding great there.
Yeah, and I tried to take it through all 5 positions of a Strat to kind of show you what it sounds like, and I could see a use for any one of them.
Yeah, I mean, it really does. It excels at rock. We kind of heard that. I mean, of course, the Jeff Beck stuff is sort of just a quintessential kind of 70s sort of rock tone. You know, got some of the classic blues stuff. I mean, it really is. It's not going to be a redundancy if you already have the regular Ultra-Phonix, and if you wanted to start with something that was maybe more rock oriented, and maybe the Dumble thing was a barrier for you, didn't really like the mid-range that in part. This is a really good, I think, alternative for people that kind of want to get into the Dumble sound but want something that still has a foot kind of in the classic Marshall thing, or if they just kind of want to add on and add another product kind of the Dumble vibe that's a little bit different than what's standard. I think that this would definitely be usable in a lot of contexts.
And the one thing I would add is that the way I use my Ultra-Phonix is on a dirty channel. So I use it to soup up a dirty channel, and it's amazing for that, and that's really exclusively how I use it. But this one, I could totally see myself just plugging into a twin or a deluxe or something like that, and just really playing with this distortion sound layered on a clean amp.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Well, that was the Ultra-Phonix HRM. Please be sure to talk to your Sweetwater sales engineer for more information on this. Danny, play us out, please.
I will.